Hello, and welcome to the Talk Tonight podcast. Today I'm joined by Ben
Hello.
and George.
Hello.
Hello. So today is another episode of What They Mean to Me, and George's favourite band is Blur. So why Blur?
Why Blur? I don't know. So one of the questions when you sort of sent me the questions, it was like, how did I get into them? It was funny, really. Like, we were chatting about Oasis just then. I'd say it was like, actually, I think it was Oasis that really got me into Blur, because I got into them first.
Yeah.
I suppose when I was sort of like a teenager, and then sort of learned all about like all that Battle of Britpop kind of stuff. And I don't know, the more I sort of learnt about Blur, I just sort of lent more towards them, I suppose. So I think that's that. But I suppose what made me sort of more interested in them was, I think they've got like quite a lot of variety to them. I think like they kind of changed with every album, didn't they? Whereas Oasis, like, I love Oasis, but they're kind of, and they were, I guess they sort of like showed the same thing. Like, they just kind of did one thing, they did it over and over again, but it was so good. It was like they were able to do it over and over again, weren't they? But
yeah,
I suppose that's what sort of got me into them. Why Blur? I suppose like musically as well. It's sort of like the reality kind of side to it. You know what I mean? Like on Park Life, he's just singing about people he's seen when he's sort of out and about, or at the gigs, or like stuff like that. So like he was able to just sort of be observational, and I suppose that's what I quite like about him.
Nice.
Yeah,
It's very British, isn't it? Like a lot of their songs quite British. Like,
but that's it. I mean, if you listen to something like Park Life now, I think like you can still sort of like the whole album, like you can sort of, it's still there outside, really, isn't it? Like all the stuff that they sing about on the songs. I suppose it's something that we might see like every day, really, and I think that's why there's sort of such a like timeless. That's sort of such like a timeless song, like Park Life, because it's still sort of something that people see.
it resonates with people, doesn't it? Like everyone sort of is like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. So,
yeah, exactly. And I think they had that kind of, they didn't really call it that, but those 3 albums, so like Modern Life is Rubbish, Park Life, and The Great Escape, were kind of called like the little like life trilogy, weren't they? I suppose like I think they were sort of the ones that are about just sort of like everyday things, really. So I quite like that, because I just find that interesting. Well, like any band does it. I think it's interesting when like the Sex Pistols did it and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like the Clash, whatever. So
yeah, I quite like it when bands have specific themes of their albums.
Yeah,
but it's quite a good, like quite a good idea to have. Like you have like concept albums, don't you? Where it's just like the whole album's like a journey, and I think like you said, they had called them life albums, and that's quite cool to do that. Really, like to make sort of them carry on in a way,
yeah,
and not just have
like,
loads of like songs written, put on one album, release it. Like they all sort of like interlinked, don't they?
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, and exactly. It was like the Arctic Monkeys' first album, wasn't it? It was just sort of like about like a night out, wasn't it? So it's just sort of, it's quite interesting.
And now they've gone to the moon and have a hotel on the moon. It's mad, isn't it? But
yeah, yeah, they kind of went like a different direction.
Massively, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, same thing. I mean, like it's still sort of like a concept album, isn't it? I mean, like, yeah. So it's interesting. I suppose they just did it in like a big way, didn't they? But then they were able to sort of go. It didn't seem weird when they went in like a different direction. So when they did like 13 or anything like that,
yeah, people like kind of expected it, didn't they?
Yeah, it didn't seem like stupid. It didn't seem like, oh, this album's shit or anything like that. It was just like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, yeah. So I suppose that's it.
Nice. Well, like I think you generally just get like, well, you answered 2 questions in one question, then, so that's great. So,
what was the other one?
The first one was like why Blur, and the next one was how did you get into them? But
oh, I thought when you sent that to me, that was just like one question. So
no, it's fine. It's fine. No,
yeah.
So like every fan has got a favorite tune. What would be yours?
No, I had to really think hard about this one. But I think my favorite song is, I think my favourite one they did was He Thought of Cars.
Yeah, I do like that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know why. I think I don't know. I just think it's a good tune. I think that was good because it was sort of like that was kind of like where people got a bit like suspicious of them, really, wasn't it? Like Great Escape, like they did with Country House and that kind of stuff. But I think He Thought of Cars sounded like it should have been on like the next album. So when they did like Song 2 and stuff like that, it's sort of ahead of its time. But I just sort of like the structure of it. I don't know. I just like the sound of it, really, I'd say. But I almost went with Trim Trab.
Yeah.
Like
He Thought of Cars is quite like a deep one, isn't it? It's quite sad. It's very monotone, isn't it? It's very like.
Yeah, it's just like, it's repetitive, isn't it? But it's not like it. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose that's why I like it, because it was just sort of like the rest of the album's a bit like, I don't know. I suppose for like lack of a better word, like it's a bit like goofy, isn't it? It's a bit like cartoonish. It's quite like Country House and stuff like that. And then in the middle of it, you've just got like He Thought of Cars, and it's just a bit like
throws you off a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, sort of like because every album has like two sides. Well, some have two sides to it, don't they? So like the first half would be like kind of like really rocky, and then the second half would be like kind of slower, more acoustic or more deep. Or more. So it's good that they do that as well.
Yeah, totally. I think that's what they did on that album. There's a few ones on there, and they're like Best Days and stuff like that. I think are a bit more sort of like grounded. So, but yeah, I mean, I almost picked Trim Trab because I like how, I mean, that's sort of the same thing, and then at the end he does all that yelling, doesn't he? And then the guitar just goes like mad and stuff like that. So I thought it was like quite a good balance, I suppose. But yeah.
Do you have a worse song? We asked Kieran that on the Oasis one, just to throw him off a little bit. Do you have like a song you just don't like whatsoever? Just to throw you off a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get that one through. I don't know, really. I can't really think of it at the top of my head.
No, because like every band has like their worst songs, don't they? Like Oasis is Little James. Like that's
straight away.
That's just how it is.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, some of that I just not specifically. I mean, some of the songs off the first album are just a bit whack. I just sort of think like before they really became famous, I just don't really put any effort into it. Do you know what I mean? Like, so on some of those songs, but I can't think of one of them. I'm just still laughing at Little James.
But don't worry about it too much, man. Like, maybe just something off the first album. Then, like,
did you
when they start to find their sound, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. And I mean, some of it. I suppose I'd say Turn It Up. Like, I don't really like on Modern Life is Rubbish in that kind of sense, because it sounds a bit more like it should have been on the first album, or just not right. Every time it comes on, it's just sort of like, I just just
a bit naff. Yeah. What is your favourite album anyway? Sorry. Continue what you were going to say if you want.
Oh no, sorry, I've forgotten.
Don't worry, man.
I think I would say actually my favourite album is Modern Life is Rubbish, because I suppose that was when they were sort of at like their freshest, really. Like I guess like they've done the first album sounds completely different to like anything they did, didn't it? But I mean, like I think Modern Life is Rubbish, they started sort of singing about the stuff they would keep singing about, and it was so different than that, but it was also so different than Park Life. It was just sort of like the very beginning, like kind of realist, I guess, interpretation of what he wanted to say, because nobody else wanted them to make that album, but he was just sort of like, yeah, trust me, it's going to be like, you know, it's going to be big soon. Every album is going to sound like this, and then it did, didn't it? So it's just sort of like, yeah, I'd say that. I just like the sounds as well, because I suppose it's they worked in like a lot of stuff, so it was a bit sort of like the Beatles. So you can sort of see whether like Oasis. I never really got the like comparison between Oasis and Blur.
No, they are completely different. Yeah.
Very different.
Completely different.
Very
yeah,
different.
exactly.
Blur are more poppy, aren't they?
Yeah, totally, and that's it. And and Oasis are more of like a rock band, aren't they? Like a classic kind of rock band. But I suppose on that album you can sort of see the comparisons in a way, because they had like the Beatles and stuff like that, but they messed around with like Cream, like XTC, like all that kind of stuff. So like, yeah, I'd say Modern Life is rubbish. I think all the tunes are pretty good because they just did whatever they wanted, really, didn't they? But like,
yeah, it's nice not having that restriction, isn't it?
Yeah.
So touched on the favourite songs, favourite album. The next question is, have you seen them live?
No. I think the last time they did gigs, I lived in Austria at the time, so I just couldn't get
mad.
Out. They didn't do like a huge tour, I don't think. I think they would have. I think they did go on to play. I think they went on to play Germany. I'm not sure if they played Austria.
Okay.
But yeah, I was sort of all over the shop, so I just couldn't make it. But
what did they last do? I can't remember, because it was to do with the Whip album, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
They toured that. Yeah, that's it.
They did British Summertime, didn't they?
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah,
I'm
they
not
did.
too sure what else.
But I think they just played like a few gigs, didn't they? I think they did like Glasgow, London, like all that kind of stuff. I don't think they really. I think they just sort of got that tour out of the way, really. But
shame, isn't it? Like,
have you guys seen them? Did you see them, Ben?
No,
I haven't.
Never.
I've seen Graham Coxon support Noel Gallagher.
Oh man, that'd be so sick.
Which is weird, isn't it? But
yeah, but they're all quite like good mates now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's all just blown over, isn't it?
Noel played on Humans, didn't he? Gorillaz.
Yeah.
He played on, with the Power,
Yeah, I know when the Gorillaz played the O2, Noel played on one of their songs live. I think.
Oh, didn't he do Dare?
It might have done, yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but I remember him being there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I mean, like, I almost saw Gorillaz as well, but that sort of fell through at the last minute. So I don't know, but I did want to go see. He did that thing, didn't he? He's doing that new one now. The Nearer the Fountain. Damon is doing like the Nearer the Fountain. Something about the stream. I don't know. It's something about like it's like I think it's a bit more like, you know, when he did that like solo album.
Yeah.
It's a bit more like that. But I sort of wanted to go see that just so I could go see like Damon Albarn, I suppose.
Yeah. It's actually like Ben's next question. It does lead very nicely into it.
Yeah. Side projects, really. Do you listen to any of them? Basically.
Yeah, I think they've all been pretty good. I mean, the Alex and Dave didn't really do anything, did they? But Graham Coxon's sort of solo stuff, I quite like. I think you have to be sort of in the right mood for it, because I think it's a bit more like folky, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like I can sort of take that or leave that, really. But like he's just such a like, he's an interesting guitar player, isn't he? So it's a weird kind of folk, but
he is.
But obviously, Damon Albarn. No, go on.
I said most of the best musicians are weird, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
It comes with their creative juices. So
they do so much. Like, like they do sort of. I don't know. Yeah, and obviously, I mean, Damon Albarn just sort of does whatever he wants, really, doesn't he? I mean, like all those side projects are cool. Like Gorillaz, like Good, the Bad, and the Queen. Like, it's all really cool.
Here's one. Do you think Gorillaz are bigger than Blur now?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think that was probably the problem with Blur. I mean, they never really got big in America till they did like Song 2, and that was it. But I think Gorillaz are just big everywhere, and they've been big everywhere the whole time, haven't they? I mean,
I think they've.
Would you agree? Like, yeah.
They sort of like just took off, really, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Like straight away, I think they were like big in America. That was why I think he sort of moved away from Blur, really, wouldn't it? Because I sort of think like, And they could, I guess that makes sense because they could just work in more like hip hop and like stuff like that and like different things into Gorillaz, couldn't they? Whereas, by then,
do you think that's why they're bigger as well? Is because they sort of go with maybe the current trends and they sort of experiment with like what's big? You know what I mean? Like, so like, obviously there's a lot of hip hop trends and stuff in Gorillaz, whereas Blur's just sort of
just like an
rock
indie band, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, totally. Because I mean, you look at them now; they're still. Yeah, I mean, I think it's such a good idea because it was just sort of like they can really just get it out there however they want, can't they? Because now they're doing like what's it called? Song Machine, aren't they?
Yeah, Song
Machine.
Machine.
Heard of that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now that can just go straight on Spotify, and they're working with people like Slow Tie and stuff like that, aren't they? So they're still sort of staying on who's being talked about, who's big, that kind of thing.
It's clever, to be fair. Always been like I said, it's quite clever, really, in it, how they managed to do it and stay with the trend. Always been intrigued to see them live, kind of thing, like just see how it all works.
How they do it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is interesting to see because they work so much into it. Like you watch the tour footage and they've got like, you know, they got like Snoop Dogg on stage and then they've got like a huge orchestra and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like, how does it like? Yeah, it's such a good idea. I mean, that they can mix anything they like, really, can't they? Like, put it out there. The animation,
they don't have like a set genre, do they?
No,
so
exactly.
They can do whatever they want.
People can't really get bored of them, can they? I mean, because they can just sort of go like, all right, people are sick of that. We can just do this next. Like, so, yeah.
Exactly. So, on to the last question. Probably got time for like another one after that, but
yeah.
Future of the band. Like, do you think Blur will do anything again, or do you think that this is it now?
I don't know. To be honest, like the vibe. I don't know. I reckon. Well, you never know, do you? I mean, like it was like 12 years between like Think Tank and the Magic Whip.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like they just vanished completely. So they might. I don't know, but I think really probably not because I just think Damon Albarn has just reached that point where he does do his own thing, doesn't he? I mean, he's sort of like, I don't know, but yeah, I doubt they'd tour again or anything like that because they'd probably just be doing hits, wouldn't they? I mean, like they wouldn't really be bringing out anything new.
No.
Do you reckon they just do like a one-off, sort of like a one-off like festival or something maybe?
Probably, yeah, I reckon. I mean, that's kind of how they did it at first anyway, wasn't it? They came back, did, like reunion gigs, then they did like...
Then they headlined Glastonbury.
Yeah, and then exactly. So like, and then they did that album, but that was years after they'd sort of first reformed and stuff like that, wasn't it? I think now he sort of is doing it a bit more like he sort of integrates them in other things. Because I think I saw like a video not too long ago where it was like Africa Express or like a benefit gig or something, but he got all of them on stage.
Last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it last year? Yeah, I saw that.
I think so, yeah. Because he had a lot of them. He had like Alex James and all that kind of stuff. And then I think he just got them on to do a couple of songs. So it worked into other things. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but I don't think there probably will be another album, really.
No, it's weird because, like, even though they were massive, the same as Oasis, but Oasis still have more of a buzz about them, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. Well, yeah. And I suppose with Oasis as well, now it's sort of like the myth is sort of so powerful, isn't it? I think like people, I don't know how to articulate that. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like the buzz about the reunion will probably be bigger than the buzz about actually seeing them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. See what I mean?
Good way of putting it,
yeah.
Like with Blur, like I haven't seen anyone being like, oh, like Blur could reform kind of thing. Yeah. It's sad, really.
It was a bit sad, but I suppose, I don't know. You're right. I mean, like, you're both right. It's just sort of like, they were just more of a pop band, really, weren't they? I mean, like, if you say Blur, everyone's just like, oh yeah, Song 2, or like, oh yeah, Park Life. You know, so I think that'll just be forever how they're remembered. But I think Oasis are remembered because they were so like, because the Gallaghers were just always at each other's throats and like stuff like that. And it was such a huge weren't they? They were just like a vibe. Like all the songs were like huge. So yeah, but
so yeah, it is sad, isn't it? Really, like
it is a little
yeah,
sad.
they are such a good band.
That's the thing. I mean, I imagine if they dug up some of the album tracks instead of just sort of playing hits, it'd be such a mad show because they just get so much. They'd have so much going on. Like it'd be such a sick gig, but
it would be.
Yeah,
it is like a weird one, isn't it? It's just a bit. But they're on like my bucket list to see live.
Yeah.
Seeing Oasis, which was obviously great.
Well, was that bit?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I missed that. I wasn't quite into them at that point, so I sort of missed that. I got into them afterwards. Then they broke up, and then it was just kind of shit.
I was meant to see. They did that stadium tour, didn't they, in the summer?
Oh yeah.
Following the UK tour.
Yeah.
I was meant to see them at Wembley, and like the gig was like on the Saturday. Then my tickets for it came the following Wednesday after the said gig.
What?
Yeah. So I wasn't happy.
That's messed up.
And I was fuming.
That's not right.
Fuming. I had really good supports as well, but
I was fuming.
Think Kasabian support them?
Yeah, Kasabian, The Enemy.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah, it was really good. Well, it would have been good. But, Ben, do you have anything else you want to ask?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Okay, really. Yeah. Well, this has been the Talk Tonight podcast. Thank you very much for coming on, George. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
And you too.
Cheers, Ben. And you can find us on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, all that jargon at Talk Tonight podcast. Have a good day, guys. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and stay alert. Cheers.